Are your people working hard but not reaching their full potential? The problem is not effort, it is development. At the Modern Observer Group, we transform workforce development into real performance. Our human-centered achievement programs help your team think better, communicate stronger, and execute at a higher level. That means higher employee engagement, stronger leadership, and measurable results across your organization. If you want a workforce that performs, leads, and delivers, it is time to invest in your people. Visit modernobserver.com and discover how the Modern Observer Group helps you build a workforce that wins.
Disputes over the Strait of Hormuz continue. A Southern Poverty Law Center employee arrested. Inflation slows, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. President Trump posted on Wednesday that the United States has total control of the Strait of Hormuz, writing, "I think we will keep it," while Iranian officials shot back that the strait remains blocked until its conditions are met. The standoff is escalating at sea. A Navy helicopter fired 2 Hellfire missiles into a cargo ship's engine room after it tried to run the blockade of Iran's ports, the third vessel disabled since July. Tuesday's tally of 8 vessels crossing the strait fell below a 10-day average of about 12 for the lowest daily count since August 5th, down from about 130 a day before the war. The ceasefire expires August 17th, with no extension talks underway, according to a senior Iranian source. Ukraine struck Russia's Black Sea port of Novorossiysk overnight with drones and missiles, hitting a naval base and forcing 2 major grain terminals to suspend operations. Ukraine reported that 2 frigates, a large landing ship, a corvette, and other vessels were hit. Russian regional authorities confirmed at least 2 deaths, including an 8-year-old child. The attack damaged 4 enterprises, more than 24 residential buildings, and educational facilities, and the city temporarily suspended its water supply. Novorossiysk is a major Russian grain export hub and a base for warships relocated from Crimea. Chicago wheat futures rose about 3% Wednesday after the attack. Russia's agriculture ministry reported it was working to redirect export flows through alternative routes. Ukraine also identified air defenses, piers, and other port infrastructure among its targets. A former employee of the Southern Poverty Law Center has been arrested in California on charges that she oversaw secret payments to informants inside of white supremacist groups, one of whom she was allegedly living with and had a romantic relationship with at the time. The woman, Heidi Byrich, previously ran the SPLC's project tracking hate groups in the U.S. The Justice Department has alleged that the program, which is no longer running, defrauded donors who did not realize they were helping to pay individuals inside the same groups that the SPLC aimed to root out. Byrich allegedly oversaw payments of donors' money to people inside of these hate groups, according to an indictment unsealed Wednesday. She also allegedly shared a bank account with one of those sources, which included funds from the SPLC's payments. President Trump announced that White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt will leave her role at the end of the month to spend more time with her family. Trump announced Leavitt's departure in a statement saying she will remain in his orbit as an outside advisor and continue playing a role in Republican politics ahead of the midterm elections. Our wonderful White House press secretary and one of my most trusted aides, Karoline Leavitt, will be departing her role at the end of the month so she can spend more time with her beautiful young children and family, a decision I totally understand and respect, Trump said. Karoline will now be one of my top outside advisors and an influential voice within the Republican Party as we work to defy history and conclusively win the midterm elections. Trump praised Leavitt's work in his administration and political operation, pointing to her involvement in his successful 2024 presidential campaign. The U.S. budget deficit soared to its highest monthly level in more than 5 years amid a surge in Medicare costs as interest on the federal debt continued to weigh on the nation's fiscal picture, the Treasury Department reported Wednesday. In addition to the big single month jump, the collective red ink across the first 10 months of the government's fiscal year rose to nearly $1.8 trillion and surpassed the same period in 2025. The July shortfall totaled $432.3 billion, up some 48% from the same period a year ago, and the largest monthly deficit since March 2021. Medicare expenses for the month totaled $174 billion, up from $103 billion in June, and now at $955 billion for the full year. It was the single largest expenditure in July, well ahead of the $141 billion spent on Social Security and $104 billion in net interest on the national debt. Consumer prices rose 0.1% in July, bringing the annual inflation rate down to 3.4% from 3.5% in June. The core inflation rate, which excludes volatile items like energy and food, reflected its lowest level since 2021. These small drops hint that inflation might finally be slowing. Gasoline prices fell nearly 3% during the month, while food and service prices were each about 3% higher than a year earlier. Inflation-adjusted hourly wages declined 0.2% from a year ago. The Labor Department released the figures Wednesday as the Federal Reserve prepares for its September policy meeting. July employment data previously showed a loss of 23,000 jobs, with May and June payroll gains revised down by a combined 103,000. The Federal Reserve maintained interest rates at its previous meeting and will receive another round of inflation and employment data before meeting in September. That's the Raw Naked Truth for August 13th, 2026. Remember to like and subscribe to the Raw Naked Truth wherever you listen to podcasts. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth Daily News Brief, as well as our sister podcast, Carnivore Radio, with news analysis and commentary, and the rest of the Xvadio Podcast Network at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.